After the immigration levels plan, if there is any news that any one of us is anxiously waiting for, that has to be the category announcements each year. Usually happens in February, and without fail, they actually did announce it today. Lena Dea, Immigration Minister, actually made a very articulated press, or rather a media brief, I think an hour or so back, and she announced finally the new categories for 2026. 3 new categories have been included for this year, which makes and brings to it a very exciting mix. Lots of things to talk about. Big changes, big explosive changes that has also happened. Some of it we were absolutely anticipating it's going to happen. Some of it which we thought should happen, would happen, did not happen. But there are some things which we were hoping that IRCC do something about, because it was really creating a lot of abuse of the system. And thankfully, they have been listening to the stakeholders. They have been listening to people. They have the ear on the ground, so they did make those changes. So many things to talk about, so many things to unpack. So without further ado, let's get cracking with this one. Canada prioritizes top talent in 2026 immigration express entry categories. So this was the IRCC's web page, which is available on their website. It's available on the Twitter account as well. And this is just a basic introduction as to what exactly is happening. They said they have introduced a new category for foreign medical doctors with, actually, this is not a new category. This has already been announced later last year. So this was not new, but they introduced new categories for researchers and senior managers with Canadian work experience. If you do follow my YouTube channel, if you do follow me on social media, then you already know we have been talking about this. This is not something new. They have now included candidates with work experience in transport occupations, including pilots, aircraft mechanics, and inspectors. So the transport category is making a comeback in a way, not all of them, but in a way. And then they have included highly skilled foreign military applicants recruited by the Canadian Armed Forces in key roles such as military doctors, nurses, and pilots. So 3 categories, yes, but at the end of the day, at least the medical doctors we were already aware about. Other than that, French continues to rule the roost. I think it was made abundantly clear that they will continue with the French. I know my colleague 𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀 has made a video about the French and the merits of French versus otherwise, and I know it has created a lot of uproar within the social media circles, but at this point of time, French continues to rule the roost. As I said, the categories otherwise, healthcare and social services continues, trades continues, STEM also continues, and then you have the other blah kind of a text over here. But the interesting bit we will talk in just a moment. But before that, let's get on with the other aspects. New categories announced. Let's see what all we have here. Canada prioritizes top talent. Of course, Lena Dea made the announcements today. The key changes that have happened. The cooks have been cooked, as a lot of people have been commenting. I'm not saying it. It's people on the Twitter and otherwise who have been making those kind of remarks. That's not a good one to make, because it's not a fault of the cooks that they were included in the trade category. And we basically had only one draw. So cooks have been removed from the trade category, but butchers have been included. But then technically speaking, butchers is also a trade skill, if you might want to call it. But anyways, butchers have been added, but I don't think people will have so much of threat, as the trade category had a lot of threat from the cooks, because suddenly we had a lot of cooks, right? People who were not cooks were also cooks, and cooking as an occupation had pretty much got cooked. Sorry, bad one. PJ, kick it out. But butchers have been added. Many new NOC codes have been added in the healthcare category. There were some codes which a lot people were anticipating will be removed, which was pharmacy assistants, which were community services workers, social and community services workers, laboratory technicians. Even to an extent, even I thought that maybe some of these might be removed, but no, they have stayed put. Not only that, some other occupations that were removed in 2025, they have made a comeback. So that would be a relief for a lot of you out there. But the biggest requirement that has happened now is that the work experience requirement is now going to be 12 months within the last 3 years. That is the biggest requirement. It's no longer 6 months. And this is one I was really hoping for, because 6 months has become pretty much a joke. Anybody could get 6 months of work experience and become eligible in category draw, right? I mean, what does it take? It doesn't take anything. But 12 months, now that would take some commitment. That would ruffle a lot of people up because they were looking for a quick jump onto the categories. But 12 months is going to take some serious commitment. So I'm glad that has happened. And work experience does not need to be continuous anymore. Now, earlier, if you know, by the 6 months category requirements, your work experience had to be continuous. That has been removed. And the work experience must be only in one single priority occupation if you are choosing to apply. So basically, if in one category like healthcare, there are multiple knock codes, and if you have 6 months and 6 months in 2 different knock codes, would you still be eligible? Well, no, you wouldn't be. You need to have 1 year only in single occupation. These are the categories now for 2026. You have the French language proficiency. You have the healthcare and social services occupations. You have the STEM. STEM is still there, mind you guys. STEM very much exists in its flesh, blood, and skin. Trade occupations, education occupations. Education is here. It's not gone anywhere. A lot of us were thinking, again, education might be taken out, but it's still here. Transport occupations, physicians with Canadian work experience was already announced last year. Senior managers with Canadian work experience. Now, this one is going to be very interesting because a lot of people who had come to Canada with work experience in a very senior occupations, like senior managers are 000 knock. We'll talk about that in a bit. And then the researchers, again, with Canadian work experience, skilled military recruits. The category-based rounds are intended to supplement other rounds to meet the identified economic goal. Now, what this basically means in English is that if they have a quota to bring, let's say, for example, 1,000 doctors, but if they have already got 1,000 doctors in the regular express entry draws, then they may not need to conduct the category draw for that particular occupation. That's what they mean. So it's not always that they have to conduct a category draw. It could also be that they may have already fulfilled their labor market shortage or their criteria or whatever their economic objective was through the regular draws. Therefore, though, they may not need to conduct a category draw. IRCC may not need a category-based draw if there are enough top-ranking candidates eligible for a category being invited to apply through the general or program-specific rounds. In addition, this new category that we're talking about, I've already told you about this one. I just showed you who's eligible for each category. Now, again, have accumulated within the past 3 years at least 12 months of full-time work experience or an equal amount of part-time work experience. So you could have 12 months of 30 hours per week full-time. Doesn't have to be continuous. So that is a big relief, I know, for a lot of people. And they should have had this experience as a single priority occupation and should have been, this work experience could be gained in Canada, could be outside Canada, it doesn't matter. And of course, for each category, you have to meet all the requirements that are outlined therein. How IRCC will choose and report on these categories? They are choosing these categories based on the labor market labor market information and projections input that is received from partners and other stakeholders. Each year, IRCC will report, or rather does report to Parliament on the categories that have been chosen in the previous year, how they were chosen, why they were chosen, what is the report, how many people, the entire the labor market report comes out to the Parliament. So that's basically with us. So that's the report. That's we're done with. You already know that. So now if you're already here, you're already watching, hit that like button, give us a thumbs up, and of course, follow the channels. That's what we're looking for. But of course, the more important one is now these. IRCC website, of course, express entry category-based selection. If I scroll down to, again, what are you already know what is category-based selection, etc., etc. They have introduced this step-by-step guide. You will show your interest, as in you will create your express entry profile. You're in the express entry pool. You will get your CRS score. That is your rank in the profile. They will conduct a round of invitations. Then you get invited. You then submit your PR application. Now, of course, this is all text now. I guess most important are these categories, which you already know by now, 10 categories. the interesting bit, and I'm just scrolling down again, just showing you who's eligible. Who's eligible means you should meet the minimum criteria for express entry, means you first have to be eligible in express entry. That is the main criteria. And then you need to meet all the requirements. Now let's look at it one by one. French language proficiency, everything is the same. Okay, you need to have NCLC level 7 in all 4 factors in French. This doesn't have to be your first language when you're choosing your express entry profile. It could be your second language, could be your first language. It doesn't matter. Choose whatever gives you most points. Healthcare, this one is something which I've been really dying to talk about. Have accumulated within the last 3 years at least 12 months of full-time work experience. I've already told you about that. Single occupation in Canada or abroad, or I mean, could be, so it could be Canadian work experience, could be foreign experience, doesn't matter. But look at this. 37 occupations last year, which is 2025, when they made these categories, we had 25 occupations, I think. 25 or 27, roundabout. 37 means at least 10 new occupations or 10 new knock codes have been added. And I'll tell you, I don't know all of them because I haven't got my hands onto a comparison yet, but I'll tell you more or less which ones those are. So these are pretty much the same, you know that, right? The veterinarians, the audiologists, the chiropractors, dentists, everything stays here. Then you got the medical lab technicians. You guys are still here. Don't worry. You know, a lot of people are talking that they will not be included. They're still here. Nurse aides still here. Occupational therapists, yeah. Other medical technologists and technicians still here. Now this and the next knock code, other professional occupations in health, diagnostic and treating, and other technical occupations in therapy and assistant. This have been added, okay? Other than that, pharmacy assistants, you guys should be very, very happy. You guys are still here. You did not go anywhere. I know there was a lot of talk about the pharmacy assistants being taken away. They are pretty much here. Assistant physicians are here, and then social and community services workers are also still here, did not get removed. There you go. So those are all your 37 occupations. I know STEM, again, STEM is another one which a lot of people are very, very interested. 11 occupations included in this one. You have the architecture and science managers, civil engineers. Out of the IT tech, they have only kept the cybersecurity specialists. There are no software engineers, there are no software developers, there are no there are no user support technicians, there are no information system analysts, none of them. But then you do have the electronic engineers, industrial engineers. Somehow, insurance agents and brokers are still here. They have not been removed. Mechanical engineers are also still here. So somehow insurance agents are still part of the STEM category, which is very, very interesting. But again, let's look at the trade occupations. Now in trade occupations, we are still only with 25 entries, right? So last year also we had 25, now also we have 25. Pretty much the same occupations by and large. They're pretty much the same. But if you take a very, very quick look, you will see that the cooks have been removed. And instead, you have butchers, retail and wholesale that have been included. Now, last year, butchers had a separate category by itself. They were under the agri and food. And unfortunately, there was no draw that was conducted for them. But this year, they have included the butchers into this category with the trade. And in combination between, so the impact that was created by the cooks being included in the trade category was huge, 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 because there are incredible number of, as we can say, incredible number of cooks in Canada. And therefore, as you can imagine, this is pretty good in terms of the trade category. I mean, I have no hate against the cooks, of course. I mean, when they did conduct one draw in trade category, a lot of cooks did get invited, though the score was at 505. But in trades, of course, they were not able to get their objective sorted out. And they had already been highlighting that because of this cooks, they are not able to get their trade category sorted out. And with that, now you have butchers included. So what this will do for trade category is that the scores will be lower for sure. Because with cooks, what was happening is that a lot of people, they gamed around. They they fiddled around with their work experience. They were not cooks. They were probably working in a restaurant in a different position. They were working as a server. They was working as a restaurant manager. Even restaurant managers downgraded themselves and became cooks from the position. They were food services supervisors. They were everything else but cooks. But they requested their employers, got themselves changed to cooks, and they got into the pool. But now, as you can see, they've been removed, but butchers are included. Other than that, I have some education occupations. I don't think there are any changes here. All of them continue. So this is another good one. I know there's a lot of relief there, because there was no mention on education category at all during the build up to these category announcements. Even last year, they hardly said anything about education. So I'm glad education category is still here. Transport occupations. Now, I thought that when I first saw transport, I thought for a moment that they will again bring back the transport managers and they will bring back the truck drivers. They did not. Instead, they have stuck to air pilots and flight engineers. They have brought in automotive service technicians and truck and bus mechanics. They have brought in aircraft mechanics, and they have brought aircraft instrument technicians. So you have these 4 occupations in the transport category. Physicians with Canadian work experience is pretty much, transport. I just wanted to check one more thing. The work experience could be in Canada or abroad. Okay, so it doesn't matter if you're a pilot in Canada or if you're a pilot elsewhere, you would be included. Physicians with Canadian work experience, of course, this is quite obvious. The work experience has to be in Canada. You have to have 12 months of full-time work experience. Senior managers with Canadian work experience. Now, this one is going to be very, very interesting to see. Now, what has happened, especially with the senior managers that I want to talk to you about? First of all, the knock codes for senior managers. It's 00012, 00013, 00014, 00015. Only 1, 2, 3, 4 knock codes included. 16 has not been included for some reason. Now, please bear in mind, these are, so I know a lot of people, computer services managers, they think they are senior managers. Corporate sales managers, they think they are senior managers, but they are not senior managers. Your knock code has to be 000. Now, this category by itself will bring a relief to those people who actually came to Canada under very senior positions. They were largely, and this is that category of people who is going to be targeted. These are largely intra-company transfers or people who came to Canada on LMIAs and were working in these very senior roles, but they are probably on the higher end of the age spectrum, and therefore their points they would not be able to get 500 plus because of the age. But with this category being announced, now this gives them a bit of a room, this gives them a bit of a leeway, and of course some relief as well. So this is a good category to have. What else have we got? Researchers with Canadian work experience. Again, you have to have work experience in Canada. Okay, 12 months, everything is the same. They have included the post-secondary teaching and research assistants, and they have included the university professors and lecturers. They did not include the postdoc. Is there a different knock code for postdoc? If somebody is in postdoc, please can you just very quickly let me see if I'm not sure if postdoc is a different knock code, but post-secondary teaching and research assistants have been included. I'm not sure if postdoc, and I know there are a lot of people in Canada who are on postdoc, if that is on the same knock code or not. Still not seeing anybody commenting. So maybe nobody's watching probably. What else have we got now? Skilled military recruits. Now this one is an interesting one. The biggest requirement for these skilled military recruits is that you should have an offer of arranged employment with Canadian Armed Forces. That is the biggest one. You should have an arranged employment. Only then will you be eligible under this specific category. Again, there are some other conditions and criteria as well. You should have a minimum of 10 years of continuous work experience. I can't imagine how many people will be eligible under this category. They could have simply had a completely different outside the express entry for this one. But anyways, now that they have it included, let's see as and when they conduct a draw, how many people do they look to invite in this one. This brings to us, I mean, this basically is all that you have as far as the categories are concerned. But then there are some other interesting announcements as well. What else have we got? First of all, I know there are a lot of people who are talking about CECs. Well, okay, somebody just did respond back. Thank you so much. Postdoc fellows often fall under the same knock code. Thank you so much. So yeah, so then obviously postdoc, Canada has a lot of people who are on postdoc who are working. This category will give them a good option as well. Thank you, Rana. Thank you for answering that question. Now, CEC, what's happening? Well, the good thing is that CEC is continuing, right? We don't anticipate any gaps, any stoppages, any pause in CEC draws at this point of time. So that's the good thing. Will they continue with such large size draws? Though I am forever hopeful, I have a bit of a pessimist view on that one, because I don't see, it's not mathematically possible for them to continue with this kind of draw for CECs all the time. It's not going to happen. At some point of time, they will have to balance it out. So CEC, while I obviously believe that they will continue with, they will not continue with it for a very long time with high amount of draws. At some point of time, it will taper down. Now that you have 10 categories, it basically means at some point of time, whenever they will conduct category draws, CEC draws at that point of time may not happen. However, for this week, and we are still very young within this week. What is it? It's only a Wednesday. You still have a Thursday and a Friday left. Listen to what Lena Diab had to say.
Providing a clear pathway to permanent residence helps keep doctors in Canada and supports better access to care. The first round for doctors and a separate round for other healthcare professionals is happening this week.
There you go, happening this week. Means today, tomorrow, day after tomorrow, 3 more days to go in this week, and you may have a draw, one for the Canadian experienced physicians, so the doctors in Canada, and another draw for the healthcare. So if you are eligible under healthcare category and you have seen those knock codes, probably your knock code was not included earlier, but now it is. Out of those 37 knock codes, you should be absolutely creating your Express Entry profile or making sure that it is updated, valid, and sitting in the pool right at the top, because this week, as Minister said herself, is going to be a healthcare draw as well. Now, as far as the other categories are concerned, what will happen with the trade category? What will happen with the other category? Somebody says, how come there are 6K ITA bi-weekly? Still the number is not reducing. Because a lot of people decline ITAs. A lot of people go back into the pool. A lot of people keep increasing their scores. That is what happens. A lot of people get added into the pool because they have gained their work experience, they have gained their foreign work experience, they have gained their you can't hear me? You're saying no voice? Tintu? Thomas? Sorry. Anyways, so those are the people who keep getting added into the pool, and that's where majority of the people are coming through from. Other than that, I mean, you can't tell people to not get their work experience or get their numbers up. People get it through Francophone, or as in the French language skills. They get it by improving their English language skills. They get it by getting a master's degree in Canada. So there are a lot of ways where people get high scores. Yes, it is always a bit of a question as to how come so many people get added in the pool with such a short duration. Like in 2 weeks, 3,000, 4,000 people. Another 2 weeks, another 2,000, 3,000 people get added. So yeah, it always raises that question. But then the way I look at it, a lot of people are declining their ITAs, whether you like it or not. A lot of people, for different reasons, put different information in their applications, or they have created duplicate profiles, or they have entered wrong information, or they have entered, in some cases, false information, and then they realize they shouldn't proceed. Yeah, and sometimes they just want to be safe. They don't want to sort of safe. Another thing is the safe. They think now that the scores are dropping, they will definitely get an ITA, so they decline the ITA, get back into the pool. These things, unfortunately, you can't do anything unless IRCC takes a very strong stance on this, makes a big fundamental change in Express Entry, whereby they block you from creating duplicate profiles, or they put a cooling period. Now, until that happens, this change is not going to happen. Now, other than that, what else are we looking at? Now, this 12 months of work experience that is now being brought in, how is that going to make a difference? Now, that is actually a very, very big deal. I'm not sure how many of you have realized it. Over this last 1 year, lots and lots and lots of people have actually gone back to their home country, and they were all working in different occupations, trying to gain this work experience. So if you are thinking that the draw scores for healthcare will drop right down very, very low, it's not going to happen. And the reason why it's not going to happen is because there are huge numbers of PSWs, personal support workers, who are getting their documentation as assistant nurse or nurse aides, and huge numbers of pharmacy assistants who are in Canada and outside Canada, who are all gearing up. Now, the only difference is most of them were targeting 6 months. Okay, and so many of them have actually stopped working after 6 months. But for their own sake, the good news is that you don't need to have continuous work experience. You can have non-continuous work experience as well, as long as it is 12 months, as long as it is within the 3-year period. So a bit of a relief, and at the same point of time, it's something that a lot of you will have to work harder towards. So for people earlier, you know what, if you were telling them, okay, just get 6 months of work experience, it was easy to get it done. I mean, a lot of people thought, yeah, why not just get 6 months of work experience done and we can do this. Now committing 12 months is going to be a bit more challenging. And I think, and I absolutely am a strong advocate of this one, because I never thought 6 months was a good idea as far as category draws was concerned. Everything was open to blatant misuse and abuse of the system. 12 months will require some commitment. Not everybody would want to do it for 12 months. So that is something which will be interesting to see. But more or less, I anticipate CEC draws to continue. But so somebody saying they did not say anything about CEC, but they didn't have to say anything about CEC. CEC is not a category by itself, right? So today's announcement was primarily to do with the categories. So that's what they did. They have announced the categories. Somebody saying any update in trades? Yes, there is an update in trades. There are no more cooks, but you have butchers in the trade, and hopefully that would make the trade category scores a bit more reachable and something which will work for them. Maternity leave considered? No, sir. Maternity leave is not considered as work experience. Somebody said, I am an apprentice aircraft maintenance. I don't know the CRS scores because there is no way for me to know how many people with what scores are sitting in the express entry pool. So there is no way to anticipate what will be the scores for any kind of categories. What else did? All categories should be 1 year full-time experience. Well, there you go. All categories have a requirement now of 1 year full-time work experience. So that is okay. That's basically most of the question here. Somebody says Canadian immigration is a puppet show. Well, I don't know how to say it. Isn't that the case with all countries who ever have immigration programs? There will always be the political masters who will be pulling the strings, and at the end of the day, and I've said this so many times, I don't know, somehow people fail to acknowledge that, is that Canada will always do what is in Canada's benefit, not in your benefit. Somehow people feel entitled in a way that because we have worked here, because we have studied here, because we have paid taxes here, because we have a job here, because I've spent 5 years here, that I should get something. That's not, unfortunately, as much as we would want something of that sort, as in, to happen, but it doesn't. It doesn't work in Canada like that. It doesn't work in New Zealand. It doesn't work in Australia. It doesn't work in UK. Look at UK, out of the blues, they just changed the requirement that you, instead of 5 years, now you have to work and wait in Canada, in the UK for 10 years before you can be eligible for your ILR. So, different countries, different kind of programs, but at the end of the day, it's always the political masters who pull the strings. Do you need COQ for trades? Certificate of qualifications may be required for some trades if the work experience is in Canada. But if the work experience is in outside Canada, then of course you don't have to have a certificate of qualification. But yeah, certain occupations might require. Software developer is added in STEM. No, sir, it is not added in STEM. What about the STEM draw? Well, hopefully this year we hope that they, hopefully this year we hope this year they would at least conduct their STEM draws again. Why not? No mention to one-time TR to PR. Well, there is no mention because today's mention was entirely to do with category draws and categories to be announced. So there was nothing that was anticipated for a TR to PR. And TR to PR is supposed to be over a span of 2026 and 2027. So whatever will happen probably towards the second part of this year, maybe. And whenever they do decide, they will probably make that announcement at that point of time. Work experience while you are studying in Canada is not considered as eligible work experience for express entry. I'm sorry, I know you would want that to happen, but unfortunately not. STEM, any updates? Well, I just told you, I mean, we are hoping that they would conduct the draws this year, but as far as the categories are concerned, there are no IT tech, if that's what you're asking. There are no IT tech included there. Is pharmacy still in healthcare? Yes, pharmacy assistant is still in healthcare. What about the cook at the senior citizen health center? Well, a cook in a senior citizen health center will still be a cook. An accountant in a hospital and an accountant in a IT company is still an accountant. So your occupation is what matters. Just because you're working in a senior citizen health center does not make you a healthcare occupation. Your occupation is about the fact that you are a cook. You were about to say something regarding what will happen to trade draw after this change. Well, I've already said it. I mean, I know what I was going to say. I mean, I've already said it, that trade draw after this change with the cooks being removed, the anticipation is that the scores will be much more within the reach of majority of the trade applicants. And there are so many of them who have been quite desperately waiting for one, but because of the previous draw, which was at 505, which was ridiculously high, and a large component of that being because so many cooks were included in that. So therefore, the trade draw was a bit out of hand. I guess the biggest change that will happen is that the score for trades would be much more better than what it had become. 505 was really out of the window. So you are looking now at the first draw in trades might still not be very low. You're still expecting a high trades category first draw. And from there on, if they do continue with the draws, which I'm hoping that they would continue throughout the year, at least multiple draws. I'm expecting at least 2 to 4 draws, anywhere between 2 to 4 draws, that they should bring the scores down, hopefully to below 450. Hopefully, I don't know. Again, don't hold me on that one. I don't know, but I guess it will bring it down to something like that number. Is Francophone programs going to be down? No, it's not going to be down. So I do not know what you mean by program is going to be down. Are you saying the scores will be down? Are you saying the program will be down? The program is still there. It's running quite strong. And the immigration minister was very happy today to announce that they have achieved their target for this year and they will continue to achieve the targets for next year as well. So I don't see Francophone going anywhere at all. 1 year within 3 years window, is this rule applicable to FSW as well, as the category is open to both CEC and FSW? Yes, it is applicable across the board. If you wish to be eligible in a category occupation, a draw, then your work experience, whether you are Canadian experience class or federal skilled worker, so inside or outside, your work experience has to be within the 3-year period. It's very, very important. Did they took pharmacy assistant job? No, they did not. It's still very much in there. What else have we got? Full-time work experience is okay, whether full-time job is required. We are continuing with part-time job. No, part-time job is fine. Full-time job is fine as long as your hours are adding up. And if you have 30 hours per week, that is what is required. That is the main condition of a full-time work experience. So if you're working for less than 30 hours per week, you just need to work for extra days, weeks, months to compensate for that loss of hours from the full-time work experience. So that's how it goes out. Okay, lots of other questions coming in, but obviously the questions never end. But this is the most interesting announcement for the day. New categories announced, changes to the categories announced. It sort of now gives a lot of people who are preparing for this year for their permanent residence, PR pathways and journey. It gives you something to look forward to, something to work towards. 12 months of work experience, that is the biggest explosive change in the category draws. Doesn't have to be continuous, which is a relief, I would say, at the same point of time that they made the change. And the changes in the health category, changes in the trade category, both of them, I would say, welcome on the side. Education category still stays. STEM category, there are no changes. IT tech has still not been included. Other than that, you have researchers with Canadian experience, doctors with Canadian experience, senior managers with Canadian experience, and armed forces with a job offer. Those are the new categories that have been included. All in all, it is looking pretty healthy as a year as we move forward for 2026 for Express Entry. Everybody who's planning, preparing, wishing, I wish you guys all the very best. This should have given you a little bit of hope. Stay forever hopeful, and I shall see you next time.